Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today I just want to clarify some things that I said in the Something Has to Change video. And the topics brought up are, of course, very valid points. But I mean, just based upon the like to dislike ratio in that video, it does seem that most of you agree with me in some capacity, some not as much as others, of course. But I just want to clarify some things because I thought about just responding to each comment, but it would be like a freaking 2 paragraphs response. So I'm just going to go ahead and just answer them here, at least give my opinion on them. So a couple things said was, first off, that the HE spam is just the meta now and Wargaming isn't responsible for the meta. I don't know about that. I say that because they have tried to change the meta before. For about Lordy, about 3-4 months after I joined, the big thing that Wargaming was trying to get done was to get battleships to push in. That's why they kept changing how certain mechanics of the game worked and this and that, and they lowered the citadel of the Iowa and the Montana, and they changed the thing here and there and so forth and so on. They're trying to tweak it to get battleship players to push in, and I would certainly argue that that is, of course, part of the meta. Of course, they put the no battleship signs on the D map, on the decap on the Atlantic map, of course, because they were tired of battleships going behind those the islands at D and being shut out of the game for, well, the entirety of the game. But anyway, and they kept saying this, and they kept saying this, and they kept saying this, and I mean, if that's not Wargaming, trying to influence the meta, yeah, that's something right there. But they are, I'll give you that they cannot just absolutely control what people do, but they do have a big hand in influencing it. And for the longest time, they've been saying, we want battleships to push in, we want battleships to push in, we want battleships to push in, and then they keep releasing ships like the Worcester, Harugamo, Smolensk, Colbert, all of these ships that battleship players do not like to deal with because unless they're out in the open, there's not a whole lot you can do to mitigate the damage you're going to receive from them. Doesn't matter how you angle, doesn't matter how you time your damage cons. Well, it does matter how you time your damage cons, but in the long run, with just the sheer amount of HE these ships can put out, you're just postponing the inevitable, and that should be how the game works, because, I mean, like I've said before, I understand HE spam is a necessity to this game, because in real life those shells wouldn't do jack against a battleship. But in a video game, there has to be balance. So fair enough if you want to give some cruisers an extremely high rate of fire. So that's balance, yes. But the amount of fire that they get, I think, is a bit much. The chance of fire is still too high because for those of you that saw the Smolensk and Colbert videos that I put up a while ago, they were played by some competent players, and both ships got around 30 fires set in each game. Yeah, I think that's a bit much. But if a battleship pushes up and they slip up, they get caught in the open to where they can be HE spammed, well, that's on them. But these ships' just ability to just rainbows and rainbows of HE across 16-17 kilometers, I don't think that's healthy for the game. And of course, battleships are less likely to push in because even if you are supported, if that push is abandoned, it's always the battleship left out in the open. Cruisers can go dark, destroyers can go dark and hide. Well, certain cruisers can't hide because they do have bigger detection radiuses than some battleships. I'm looking at you, Conqueror. But still, it's always the battleship player that gets left out in the open that has to deal with being focused fire, being the subject of focusing fire, which, I mean, fair enough, battleships are supposed to tank damage. So if my team gives up on a rush, well, okay, I'm going to be the last one to fall back, but if I'm facing 4 or 5 ships, I can still mitigate the damage if they're shooting AP, which most ships will be slinging AP at you when you're in a battleship and you're trying to turn around. So you're going to take some damage there, but then you can angle and mitigate most of it. And yes, when you turn around, they are going to start throwing HE at you, but that's simple to mitigate by just showing them the smallest profile of your ship that you can. And if other battleships or other heavy cruisers are slinging HE at you, sure, that is HE spam, but battleships takes 30-25 seconds to reload depending upon the ship. Cruisers, before the introduction of the Wooster, the best HE spammy cruiser we had was the Des Moines with a 5-second reload, and that was considered HE back in the day. But of course now with ships like the Wooster, the Colbert, the Small Lynx, the Harugamo, it's way more, and there's not a whole lot you can do against that. So battleship players, we're just really hesitant to push in. I'm really aggressive, you guys know that, but most battleship players are fairly hesitant to pushing in, which is bad for the game. Okay, the other thing was that, and several people said this, oh, you're just a BB main, you're just whining. Yeah, I'm a BB main, and sure, I know I probably have a biased viewpoint of it because I am a battleship main. It's a class that I play the most. But and a lot of comments are just like, why don't you try taking out a cruiser? Well, I have. I own quite a few cruisers now, and I play them somewhat regularly. Of course, there are more battleshipy type cruisers like the Hindenburg, and of course the Alaska, Stalingrad, and Azuma, and I'm working on the Yoshino. But I do have light cruisers. I do have the Worcester. I'm working towards the Minotaur. I do have the Salem, which is a heavy cruiser, but it's not very battleshipy because it's easy to get deleted in it. So yes, I have played cruisers, and I do understand why HE spam is necessary. But there are plenty of times when I'm playing the Harugamo or the Worcester that I'm like, oh my god, this is ridiculous. And sure, I can pull huge damage numbers in those ships, but I still don't agree that they should be that effective at starting fires. And probably the easy solution to this that I mentioned in the last video would be just give damage con across the board to every class a bit of a buff. You know, maybe just shave some time off of the cooldown time, except for the Soviets, because still their damage con is really effective against fires. But maybe just shave 10 seconds, 15 seconds off of the cooldown time, because the amount of HE spam has certainly gone up in the game. I'm pretty sure most of you will agree with me on that. And even with the addition of submarines coming out soon too, that damage con is going to be really important, because you get nicked by a torpedo, you get a flood, that's going to screw. Well, it's going to screw you over quite a bit, but it's not going to screw you over as much as it used to when you could legitimately die from a single torpedo hit. And that's another thing too. With the CV rework, they nerfed flooding time, because direct hits from torpedoes are now much more common from carriers. So I don't see why they don't just nerf burning time a little bit across the board, because I mean, Small Lynx, Colbert, rocket planes from carriers, there's just so much more fire in the game. I think it's past time that damage con gets either a buff, or the burning time just shave 5 seconds off of it. That would make a big difference, and that would make they would make the biggest difference with the smallest impact, is what I'm trying to say, because it'll help out the ships that are just constantly being HE spammed, but it's really not that much time, but it'll give you a couple more seconds to, get out of a bad situation. It'll give you a couple more seconds to think. It'll give you some more health to be left over with after just eating, a volcano's worth of fire. It's, like I said, something just needs to be adjusted. Just a little nudge, not a huge sweeping difference. And of course, IFHE, that change is supposedly coming out sometime. We don't know when. It's soon, according to Wargaming, which could mean a year, 3 months, could mean tomorrow. Who knows? It's Wargaming. When they say soon, we don't know what it means. But anyway, that's just a couple of points I want to reiterate and clarify my position on. And I may have just started another comment war. Who knows? But let me know what you guys think down below. Again, I want to hear your guys' opinion. It's always interesting to read what you guys have to say about this subject. So anyway, guys, hope you're having a wonderful Friday. Also hope you guys will come out to join us on the stream at 5 o'clock tonight, U.S. Central Time. But anyway, guys, Hope you have a wonderful Friday. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.